Welcome to the Confident and Courageous Clarity Podcast with me, Jateya Jones. Join us weekly for everything clarity. The truth is, once you have clarity, you'll have the confidence and courage to succeed in life and business. If you're new to the podcast, you should know my goal is to help you gain the clarity needed to transform your visions, goals, or dreams into reality. For my OG listeners, you all know that the podcast was birthed from the evolution of Mocha Monday's Tip of the Week. So when we moved to the podcast, I couldn't just leave you without your mocha. Therefore, at the beginning of each episode, I give you your drop of mocha, and you are to implement it throughout the week to help inch you closer and closer to clarity. This week's drop of mocha is: if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. I want you guys to stand firm in what you want. Choose you. Your dreams are valid. They're worth chasing and going after. That big audacious goal that people tell you you shouldn't pursue, why not? Why not you? Remember, who gonna check you, boo? You can do what you want. And always remember, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. Don't regret not chasing after your dream one day. So now let's jump into this week's episode. Brie Sodano is a nationally recognized personal finance expert and the founder of Sheep to Shark. She offers cash, confidence, and community for women who want wealth and can teach you to manage, save, and invest your money. Hello, how are you today?
Amazing. Best day ever.
I love it. I'm so excited to talk to you again this week to share your mindset and your thought processes with the world, but especially my multi-passionate entrepreneurs out here and my solopreneurs transitioning into real entrepreneurship with teams and things. And so would you just tell the people who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Brie Sodano, and I'm a money coach. I own a business called Sheep to Shark. And what I basically do is I help get more money in the hands of good women. Like that's what I do. I used to sell stocks and bonds and mutual funds, and my clients were coming to see me and they were not having problems that would be solved with better mutual fund choices. They were coming to see me and they're like, Brie, I make a lot of money. I'm still in debt. Brie, I want to quit this job and start my business. Brie, my kids are about to go to college and I'm still paying on my own student loans. Like, basically, what am I doing wrong here with this money? And so I started working with my clients on cash flow and helping them figure out like what money needs to go where. And I was giving them these very sexy budgets, like very spreadsheet-tastic, like top of the line. And then they weren't doing them. And I was so butthurt about it. And so then I was like, all right, well, these are smart, successful, amazing people. Like, what's going on here? And so then what I realized is like, for most people, a financial plan isn't really enough. And so then we started working on habits to go with their plan, and that worked better, but it wasn't like, it was good, but it wasn't like really hitting the mark. And so then we started working on mindset, habits, and a plan. And then we started to really see some good results. And then we added in a layer of like emotional intelligence to go with the mindset, to go with the habits, to go with the plan. And then we started knocking it out of the park. You add in a little like community with that. And now all of a sudden, these clients are set up for long-term wealth building success. And so once I started having like a level of impact, and really, I love doing the nerdy cash flow work and getting into people's mindsets and figuring out like, oh, this one time when your mom told you couldn't have a lollipop, you made it mean that you're never going to have what you want for the whole rest of your life. Let's just change that idea. And so then I started Sheep to Shark. Actually, just this week is my fifth birthday for Sheep to Shark. And and so that's what I do. And so my work is kind of split into two. So some of the work that I do, I have like a membership where anybody can join, W-2 workers, starting a business, a small business, and people kind of come in and learn those basics of wealth building. And then I have a high-end, high-ticket, high-touch mastermind for women already doing 6 figures who are working more towards 7 figures. Was that all the things?
I love it. Yes. And happy birthday. This is so exciting. So when we first talked, the thing that really stood out to me is one, your heart for your people, and then two, your journey to get to Ship to Shark, right? So you really understand the drive and the motivation behind business and money and a real why. And so the emotional intelligence piece was amazing because so many people, especially those that are at the 9 to 5, trying to leave the 9 to 5, already doing the 5 to 9, they think it's all the tips and the tools and we tell them all the time, it starts with your mindset, right? And they always don't embrace it as much as they should. But the emotional intelligence piece and connecting the dots, for those who follow the podcast for a while, you know about the ABCs to clarity, and C is connecting the dots from your past, present to where you want to go, as well as connecting with people. And so I was thinking, oh my goodness, we have to have her on because she knows all the buzzwords. And she's like my best friend in my head and she doesn't even know it. And so let's dive in a little bit more into no. Let me rewind because I'm excited if you can't tell. I want them to know all the things. So a good portion of them have already switched over to full-time entrepreneurship. And of course, who doesn't want to scale their business and their baby to 7 figures? So this is a great episode for those of you who are on your way there. That's where you desire to be. And those of you who are trying to get there. So I know you have like these 6 points to actually be able to scale your business from 6 to 7 figures. So I'm gonna just follow your lead. So what's our points today?
Yeah, so I'll just open up and share. So my business, so we when I started, I think the first year I started in June, and I did about 80, almost 90,000, like high 80s. And then the next year we almost doubled. And then the next year again, we almost doubled from that. And then last year we went from about 300 to just over 500. And that was a lot of growth happening really, really fast. And I learned some lessons, maybe not the easiest, most gentle way. And so when I look back in hindsight about growth and really growing a business and scaling it, these are some of the things that I learned. So the first thing is, at first, when we first get started, revenue is king. Like when we first get started, we have to make that money. Like, because if you're not making money, you can't quit your job, you can't buy groceries, you can't do anything. And so, and for most of us, when we first get started, it's just us. We're just on our own. Maybe we have a little support from a VA or like a contractor of some sort, but we don't have like a team yet. And so revenue is a cool focus, and that really works. But as you start to grow and scale, what I frequently, and not always, but sometimes I see happening is my clients reduce their take-home income and put everything into the business. And really what happens there is that we get to this place where we feel like we're living, where we kind of feel like our business is a house of cards, like, because we're on the brink of starvation, where we're growing and flourishing, and we look very successful from the outside. People be like, hey girl, I see you on socials and you're doing great. And you're like, dude, my own bank balance is like, not right, not there. And so one of the shifts that we have to make when we're growing is we have to shift from that revenue like focus to the focus of salary for self, like owner pay, and then we have to focus on profitability. And when the way that I kind of explain it to my clients is that we want to think of our role in our business is really twofold. Because if you're working in your business, you are, you're not like a technical employee, or maybe you are, like I get paid like payroll, right? But we do work in the business, and we need to be paid as an employee for what the literal work that we're doing in the business. And then we want to be paid as an owner for owning the business. Now, as time goes, we're hoping to set up enough systems and build enough team that eventually we're just the owner, and we're not doing that technician work. If you've ever read what is it, the E-Myth. And so we have to really look at those things, because we don't want to build a business that's built on free labor. Like it's a highly ineffective. So that's one of the first shifts that you really want to do. And it sounds obvious, but so many entrepreneurs chase revenue And because we see the two comma club awards and we watch people make a ton of money, and like, we get a little like, maybe we compare ourselves a little bit, like,
Yeah.
and that revenue piece, like, what's funny is I've been to a few funnel hacking lives, and I don't know if you told me that, Samir. So, click funnels and all the things. And it's so funny because sometimes you see people getting these two comma club awards, but you know them personally, and you know that they spent $992,000, $992,000 to make that $1,000,000. And you're like,
Right.
what are we really celebrating here?
Yeah.
Because by the time you build out the ads and you spend all the money on the ad spend, it's very easy to get wrapped up chasing that top line revenue. So that's that as you grow and scale, you have to shift your financial focus from revenue to being able to pay yourself consistently, appropriately, and then making sure that your business is profitable. And it doesn't, the order that you do that in, some people don't take a salary, they only take owner distributions, but it's the point that you're, one, being paid adequately for the work that you're literally doing, and you're taking a profit as a business owner. You want to be focused on those two things, no matter like the semantics of salary or draw or whatever. It doesn't exactly matter as long as they're on point with that.
Let's dive into that really quickly because you're so right. And I try to tell people all the time that no one buys your desperation. And when you're focused on revenue, you normally end up going into desperation mode at some point in time, right? Because, like you said, it's like my personal bank account does not look like I'd want it to look. Or if you quit the 9 to 5, it doesn't look how it used to look, right? You're used to that paycheck coming in twice a month, whether you went to work or not, right? And so I attempt to really force the focus on the why, your effect versus the effect, right? And it keeps you on track with actually selling the thing that they want, right? Selling the result that they're buying, because they really don't buy products and services, they buy results of those products and services. And so most individuals don't go into it thinking about taking a owner's draw, because they're like, I'm gonna do the work until I can make the profit, and then I'll just pay myself. And so I'm so happy that you brought up both of those things, because if something happens to you, then what, right? The business can't function around just solely you. So my solopreneurs going into entrepreneurship with the team, they really need to understand that and have that as a North Star or as a focus, so that they're not just working for free the entire time the business is functioning and calling it a business, because they are expensive. So like you said, if you're putting in almost $1 million and then you hit that $1 million in revenue, what are we really celebrating? Because you made like $2, if that.
Yeah. And when we want to replace ourselves, if we were working for free, that becomes very, very difficult. So as we want to replace our tasks, we're not going to get anybody else to do it for free. So if you underpay yourself, your business won't be literally financially strong enough to replace yourself. And you'll always be chasing. It just puts you in a space of always chasing. And so what that does is it changes the time frame a little bit. Like and patience, I think, might be probably the best word. It's like sometimes we get a little urgency around our time and like how fast this is supposed to happen. I will tell you, I thought for sure I was going to make $1 million my first year in business, which, like, when I look back on it, I'm like, oh girl, like that doesn't even make sense. And that set me up for a time, like mentally, this place of always feeling like I was behind, always feeling like I was rushing, always feeling like somehow like there was something wrong here because I wasn't there yet. And none of that is true. But it doesn't matter, because that's the place I was making decisions from. And that really caused me personally to chase a lot of revenue as opposed to like profitability, which is, and I'm going to share this with you because I think it's so funny. Because, like, listen, when I work with my clients, I see very, very clearly all of the things going on for them because I'm not them. I get that objective point of view. I get to look at their money and it's just math to me. It's just math. I get to look at their systems and I'm like, oh, you're leaking here. I can see this. because to me, it's not my baby. It's
Mhm.
not my money. It's just math. It's just math and a business structure. Like ding, ding, ding. And I would say, like, if you asked me a question, I would look at your math and I would look at your business and I would tell you with absolute certainty, here's the problem and here are 3 different potential ways we could solve it. Like, here's what we could do here. And none of us have that level of objectivity when it comes to our own junk, which honestly is annoying if you ask me. But it's like when
Very.
it super annoying because like when I look at somebody else's stuff, I'm like, oh, crystal clear, perfect. But when
Mhm.
it's my stuff, my feelings are all wrapped up in it, and my past effort is all in it, and my feelings of failure or success or stupidity or like whatever else is all tangled
Yeah.
in to the way that I approach everything. And so I want to just mention that because I think it's really important that we're gentle with ourselves as we're going, because it's a very, very difficult to maintain that clarity. You said in our last thing that clarity is like a, not, did you, I don't think you said the
Clarity through
word
the
dance,
doing.
but it's yes. And so it's like you're going to be clear and then you're going to be confused. You're going to be clear and then you're going to be confused. And making sure that we keep our eyes on that, being able to pay ourselves properly and being able to take a profit really helps with not rushing and getting impatient and trying to grow a business unsustainably that's going to be like top heavy or not top, whatever, and tip over. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head because I tell people that all the time. And, people are like, well, why can't you? I can't do as effectively for myself what I can for others. And that's the importance of community is I have to have others that can pull out of me the things that I need to be clear. I can get it to a certain point, but like you said, we're human and you have to give yourself that space and grace to for one, human error, and two, realizing that you do have emotions. Even though, I tell people all the time, I'm a thug, I don't cry, but I do at the end of the day. And so you need someone else to help you be able to do that. And that is the important piece. Yes.
Wonderful. So the second thing that I think is really important that when we look at growing and scaling is when we get started, we're going to be real scrappy. Like there's a
Mhm.
certain level of scrappiness when you're doing that 5 to 9 and you're just getting started and you're doing things that are a little outside of your wheelhouse. And we're investing maybe a little recklessly on our own credit cards or doing stuff because that's where we are, right?
Mhm.
Well, as
Mhm.
we want to grow and scale, we really want to put standards in around the way that we behave, the way that we treat ourselves, the way that we act in our business, because when we're first getting started, we make a little reckless investment. And I don't want to say reckless like bad, but like that that initial investment in like whatever you're doing where you're like, I hope this works, right? Like when I hired my first business coach, it was $10,000 for a 6 month coaching program. And I was making like $3,000 a month at the time. I borrowed all of the money. I didn't have that money. I borrowed it. And so that felt wild to me. That felt
Mhm.
real reckless. Like it didn't feel like a great financial decision. And that being said, I'm a great investment. So it paid off. It was fantastic. But is that same like white knuckling it, holy crap, decision making around investments and business growth and other things, like that's not the vibe as you grow and scale, because it leads you to being on a bit of an emotional roller coaster, and it
Mhm.
leads to really like chasing the next best thing and trying to like a lot of like shiny object syndrome, like, and especially like with marketing, for example, because that's usually the place where people focus when they want to scale is like lead gen and sales, right? And so one of my mentors, his name is George Bryant. He's got a podcast too. Actually, I was just on it. If you go on my Instagram, you'll probably see it. But one day I was talking with him and I was like, all right, we got to do the email list and we got to do this chat bots and we can do this. And I could do organic and we could do the paid ads. And he's looking at me and he's like, wow. And he like leans in, he's like, you know what marketing works the best, Brie? And I was like, what? Tell me your secrets. And he's like, the marketing you do. Pick 2 things and calm down. And I was like, That seems real disappointing, George. Like I was really hoping to do 47 things. And he's like, you're not going to be successful at 47 things. You have a small team. Do 2 things. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And it's like when you do less, you can dial it in. You can focus, you can clean it up, and you can get something that really can last. Because everything that you're going to build for the first time is gonna be leaky. You're
Mhm.
gonna lose leads, you're gonna not close sales. And that's part of the process of fine-tuning it. And so when we're scrappy, it's like we don't when you're being scrappy, you're not in that fine-tune mode. And as you grow and you scale, you're gonna be more effective to close the leaks and what's already working. Like really dial in that lead gen strategy, really dial in that sales strategy, really dial in your deliverables, really get your collections done. Like I've had clients who don't have standards around like the way that they collect their money. Like I have one client who literally found $75,000 in accounts receivable when we got into her money. And this woman is successful. She's successful. And she was worried that she wasn't going to have money to hire staff. And I'm like, you don't have money to hire staff because your standards, because she was scrappy way too long. She was doing everything on her own way too long. She needed help in her office a year ago, and she didn't have the help. She was scrappy, she was doing it on her own, and she had the resources to have the help and have a higher profit margin. But it's like the thing about it is it's scary. The thing
Mhm.
about hiring is scary, building a team is scary, having people's livelihoods on your shoulders is scary. But that's really how you're going to grow. And so we want to do that really from a place of like standards and not just throwing. And listen, you're going to throw a little spaghetti at the wall. Like you're going to see what sticks. You have to try stuff to see whether it works for you. You have to do it to see whether or not you like it, which again, very annoying if you ask me. Like very annoying because you think you're like, oh, we're gonna do it this way, and then you're like, actually, I don't like this.
Mhm.
Actually, we're never gonna sell this way again. I'm not into that, right? And so it's this, yeah, it's really constantly like looking at and tightening those standards of everything in your business, which is so interesting because that scrappy persona, I'm going to get it done no matter what, is such a badge of honor in the entrepreneurial space. And so it's like we have to kind of put that down and be like, I'm bougie. We're not doing it that way. We're getting this dialed in. We're fine tuning here. I take first class flights. I'm not scrappy anymore. I can
Yeah.
be scrappy. I know how to do it. I'm resourceful. But at this point, standards, baby, standards.
Right. That's like the whole goal of becoming an entrepreneur normally. It's like for the freedom and the opportunity to be bougie. Right? It's like, no, I have these bigger dreams and visions. And in order to be able to do those things, you truly have to put things down and not do all the things and accept that
Yes.
clarity's in the doing, no matter how annoying it is, because it is very annoying. I do agree.
Yeah, and at this stage, this is the stage where really we master the no. You have to master the no. Like when we're first getting started, it's like yes to every opportunity, yes to every idea. Yes, we're going to try it. We're going to throw that spaghetti. We're going to see what sticks. And when you get into standards, the no becomes so much more important than the yes, because the no is what protects your time. The no is what protects your team. The no is what keeps you on track from getting derailed with whatever good idea you heard on the internet today. And
Mhm.
maybe I'm talking about myself here, but I'm just saying like that no,
You know
that
my life is well.
that those boundaries for what we do with our time and space become so, so important.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love all of that. So on point. You get very protective over your time and your talents. And you are quick. Well, speaking for myself, I am quick to say no. At this point, when you're right, when you're focused on the revenue, you say yes to everything because you're like, $1 is better than no dollars. And you quickly learn that that's not the truth. All clients aren't the best clients, and their money isn't as good as the other. So you say
Yes.
no to get the perfect or the ideal client, because then you have the energy to do more because you're not fighting with clients, and you end up with better walking and talking billboards because they were the ideal client. So
And it's really like, if you haven't said no to a client just because you maybe don't like them, maybe it's not the best fit, maybe they need too much customization to make whatever you do work, like that is such a power move. You'll feel your standards increase when you're like, actually, I'm not the best fit for you. I don't think this is going to be the best for you. Like, let me recommend, I actually think you need an accountant or a divorce lawyer. Like, sometimes people come see me and they're like, I hate my husband because and I'm like, so actually, this isn't a money problem.
Yeah.
So actually, this isn't, which is funny. Sometimes I work with couples, and it's like sometimes it's a money problem that causes a marriage problem, and sometimes it's a marriage problem that causes a money problem. And I will only solve one of those problems. Like, if it's a marriage issue, you need come see me once your marriage is in good shape, because then I can work with your money. Are you with me? And so it really becomes like
that is very, my light bulb just went off, because I tell people a lot of times, once you gain clarity, I see that, well, the immediate thing is you go through the shedding process, right? Whether it's family, friends, and normally relationships. So you either realize you married the right person, or you realize you married the wrong person. And yeah, it's a lot of letting go of people, places, persons, or things, right? And so when you said that, I was like, that totally makes all the sense in the world. That is either a marriage problem or a money problem that caused a marriage problem. So yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just fascinating. It's like when you start to be like, oh, no, no thanks. It's like, it's not that it feels good to, not work with somebody, but it feels good to stay in your own power. It feels good to not let money or the potential for money have authority over you. That's really where that standard, you're like, yeah, that feels good.
Making decisions for me.
So the third shift that you really need to make as you grow and scale is, when we first start, we put our business first. And as we grow and scale, you really have to put yourself first. And I mean that in terms of like self-care. I mean it in terms of the highest production value of your time, and the way that you treat yourself, and the way that your relationship with the business. Like, one of the shifts that's really kind of difficult to make is that we go from being scrappy and doing all the things to, once we have a team, we have to like become like this eminent all mother of that attracts the land of milk and honey that everybody lives off of. And that means that we need to let ourselves be supported. We need to learn how to receive help. We need to learn how to receive support. We need to learn how to ask for exactly what it is that we want and need. We need to let other people please us professionally, and maybe in other areas of your life too. And like, and that is a very, that shift is, you're probably going to need some coaching through that. That's because you have to break down basically all of the patriarchal conditioning to become that person, to like really like step into that role is like not just queen, but it's like the production. Like, you make it rain. You're the rainmaker, and the rainmaker is the reason everybody else has a job, and the rainmaker is like the reason that everything flows. And so you have to treat yourself like, if you're running low, you have a matter of weeks before your money's running low. So it's like that next level self-care, the next level the way that you dress, the next level the way that you speak, and like, appearance is one thing, but it's generally going to be like, self-care runs in different, like your self-care could be your body, like your appearance is a low level self-care, your body, like taking care of your physical body, like massages, chiropractic services, your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, like your therapy, your coaching, whatever else. But you have to really treat yourself like you're important, because you're the whole reason that all of these people have work, and you've created it. And so like, so really learning to put yourself first and making sure that you're well taken care of, so that when you're nourished, mind, body, soul, like nourished, then you can be that, and you can grow and expand. But when you're dry and dusty and running on low, your money's going to be dusty 20 minutes later, lady. So like, but that's a thing that really, like, you have to, what I'm talking about sounds nice, but for real, it's no small task to break down all of the social like patriarchal conditionings telling you to be a good girl, telling you to be an independent woman, telling you to suck it up, to get it done, to not ask for help, to not receive,
Mhm.
like, and what's so funny is that like really like business is a dance between masculine and feminine energy. Like every single human has some balance of masculine and feminine energy, and some people are much more toward the masculine and some are much more towards the feminine, and that's fine. But what ends up happening in our culture and society is that our American women are so conditioned to be in their masculine that they literally don't know how to receive.
Mhm.
And
This
so then that leads to overgiving, overworking, over delivering, undercharging, undernourished, and really running low, really running on empty, and not really receiving. And when we don't know how to receive, we deprive the people who love us of the opportunity to delight us. And that's
Mm.
like, um, it's just a real thing. And so, I'm saying this and it sounds like, oh, what a good problem to have, but it's you have to really break down, you kind of have to really go into your past and really look and see, why do I feel like I don't deserve that? Why do I
Mhm.
feel guilty when somebody does that? Why do I cringe when I say my prices? Like why, like what's going on here? And you have to really reframe a lot of like past memories and past conditionings.
Very, very true. I love that those that love us to light us. I always say self first isn't selfish. And for
Mm-mm.
people to really, really embody that because it feels wrong, it feels dirty and icky when you actually start to put yourself first. And I'm like, people, you have the audacity to want us to accept your breadcrumbs because you choose to run on empty. When if you really did take care of self first, you could give us a 5 course meal. And you're wondering why we're looking at you like, I don't want that. And you're like, but I'm giving you my all because we have been conditioned to be that way and to give and give and give until we don't have anything left. So I'm constantly telling people self first is not selfish, and to really embody that and to give from your saucer, not from your cup, so that your cup can stay full. Give from your overflow, but you have to pour into yourself to be able to even do that. So that is a real struggle for most female entrepreneurs specifically. And you do have to take that time to do that mindset shift.
Yeah, and it's funny, one day I was working with a hypnotherapist and I was debating about hiring a personal trainer. And
Mhm.
he's listening to me talk. And like at this point, I make a lot of money. Like I can certainly afford the trainer. Like it wasn't, but I felt some kind of way about spending that much money on me, on this,
Yeah.
on this body, right? Like, oh, I'm like, well, should I just lose the weight first? Which like literally doesn't even make sense. And he's like, Brie, if you go to the gym, you're going to feel better. If you get an extra hour of work because you feel more energetic, the investment's going to pay off immediately. Like, what are you even thinking about? And it's just so funny because that hypnotherapist is a man. And so he didn't have that conditioning. So when he's watching
Mhm.
me like kind of wobble in it, he's like, what are you even talking about? The investment is well worth it. You're going to see a return immediately. Like, why are you paying me to talk about this? Like, and I was like, oh, all right. And then you go and then you feel better and then you look better and then you feel more confident because you feel better and you look better and and like and then that just becomes the standard. But at first it's hard.
It is very hard. So very true. And a lot of us don't even realize that it is a self-worth issue, right? We feel like it is a logical, analytical numbers issue, and it's so not. It really boils down to self-worth.
Yeah. And your entire relationship with money basically reflects your relationship to your own sense of worthiness.
Mm,
Like
mhm.
that's like so much of my work is really reflecting back to people how amazing they are. Like honestly, one of the things that breaks my heart in my work every single day is that I have these amazing clients, like women doing big work in the world. Like I've one of my clients literally got an endowment she runs a nonprofit organization. She's in Indianapolis. She literally changed her mindset enough that she's given her entire nonprofit team a raise. Like she's on the leading edge of like standards for how we treat nonprofit workers, because nonprofit workers are generally serving less fortunate while literally starving to death, right? And so I actually just read, she just put a post up that her whole team is getting paid $18 an hour. That's like their minimum wage. And I was like,
Love it.
And it's so wild because sometimes my clients who are just so amazing, just like literally see their little broken bits. They see the cracks, they see the places where they're not successful, they see their struggles, they see the path. And I'm like, don't you see how effing amazing you are? Don't you see? But they don't. And so like that's like really like so much of my work is just reflecting to them like, oh hey lady, you're amazing. You're brilliant. Yeah. You're doing good work. You're making ripples. Like you're a gift. Like, you know, like, and we're just so conditioned with like shame and guilt around things like, you know, clients like not wanting to show up because they're not the right size or shape. They're like, what? And it's wild. I mean, I've totally also me, just saying.
Listen.
Yeah, like,
this is so true. And it is sad because I mean, it's kind of like we were saying earlier, we can do for others what we sometimes can't do for ourselves. The same thing applies there. You know, it's like you see the greatness in all of these other women and people then look and tell you and you're like, yeah, but, and we deflect. And it takes time to actually be able to sit in and receive a compliment, sit in and then be like, you know what, maybe they're right. And the mentality or thoughts that I have about myself or I've been told from childhood are wrong. If everybody else is saying that these things are me, maybe, just maybe they're right.
Yeah. So one of the next things it's really important to kind of shift, and this one's quick, is going from I to team. Like when we first get started, we have to put so much confidence into ourselves. We have to be able to pull it off. I can do it. I can pull it off. I can count on myself. I can be in the uncertainty of growing this thing because I know that I can count on me. And as you grow, that becomes an incredibly heavy mindset. And so it's not that we want to give our confidence up in ourselves, but we really need to empower our team and have confidence in them the way that we have confidence in ourselves, and not second guess them and not degrade them and not, you know, undo their work and redo it ourselves. You know, I feel like the dishwasher is like the most common example of that. It's like, hey babe, could you load the dishwasher? And then you go look at it and you're like, oh, I'm going to redo this dishwasher. And then, you know, your love is like, why do I even bother with the dishwasher?
Right.
Also at my house, my husband is more likely to reload the dishwasher, which for years made me not ever, like, I'm like, I'll just not do the dishwasher because I'm going to do it. And then you're going to not like it. You're going to move all the dishes. So why don't I just save myself the trouble and let you put it in the way that you want it, you know? Yeah. But that dynamic is not a dynamic that we want in our team. And truly, like, you don't really want that dynamic in your marriage either. It's really not that big of a deal about if you have to run the dishwasher twice, or if, you know, like whatever. So there's that. Then the next thing I think is really, really juicy. It's the shift from mindset to like a body set. And so here's the thing about growing and expanding. At first, we have to get our minds wrapped around this. And so getting to 6 figures, starting your business, there's a ton of mental work to do. But mental work will only get you so far because your body has to go along for the ride. And so much of us have to, there's conditioning to get our body to feel safe in these new, I like to call them like emotional temperatures, right? And so like, if we grew up in, let's say if we grew up poverty or lower middle class, there's a temperature to that, right? It feels nervous. It feels like scarcity. It feels like not enough. There's a lot of fear. Well, if we want to be wealthy, you know, that temperature feels like safety and security and money in the bank and, a little luxury. And those are two really, really different temperatures. And so even though our conscious mind is like, yeah, that second one sounds way better, our body is like, well, listen, so the thing is I know how to do this. Like your subconscious brain, who's in charge of your body, is like, I know exactly how to survive here. I know exactly how to make $1 out of 15 cents. I know exactly how to stretch this. I know exactly how to do this. The first time you buy yourself first class plane tickets and you sit in front and you watch everybody go by, you will feel resistance. Very likely. I mean, maybe you'll be one of those people who's just like already ready, just in it to win it. But most of us, like that emotional temperature and being seen differently, being seen differently, that is all stuff that will feel very unsafe in our body. And so as you grow and you scale, you will get to a point where you start to plateau out. And that's the place where you have to really shift your coaching focus. Like most entrepreneurs have some sort of coach or in some sort of masterminds, but this is the place where you have to start to look at your body, your nervous system, your like, honestly, like your past trauma is going to come up as you scale. Like your past trauma is going to come up as you scale. And so, and we all have trauma. And that's a thing, but you're not going to solve that in your mind. It's not a mind issue. It's really a body issue. And so a lot of times people get deeper and deeper into their mindsets. They go to more and more like high ticket coaching and whatever else, when really it starts to become a body issue. And so that's something very important to notice, because your nervous system you literally want to take your physical body onto that airplane, and your mind doesn't pay the consequence to your body. Like your conscious mind is like, oh, the body's upset about something, and your body will be like, listen, get me out of here, right? So it's like the example I like to give that I think really brings this home is like, you can get, like, let's say you're going to go into your boss's office and ask for a raise. I think this is a situation we've probably all been through.
Yeah.
And in your mind, you're like, here are the 52 reasons I deserve a raise. Here's the comps based on what other, da, da, da. Here, here's all of the reasons, mental. Okay. And then you sit in your office with your butthole puckered for like 3 weeks about the appointment with the boss, because your body is so afraid to go and ask for the thing. Your voice quivers. Your body squirms, your hands get sweaty. And so like, that's, I think, like a very nice, easy example to be like, my mind is on board with this 100%. And my body, not so much. And so you have to get the body on board to be able to grow and scale, because self-sabotage is always a subconscious thing. Like nobody's consciously like, well, it's Tuesday and I'm going to undo all the work I did yesterday with my self-sabotaging, that's not a conscious mind function. It's a subconscious mind function. And so when we push our body into places where it's afraid, it's very likely the subconscious will get in a fight, get hurt, get sick, drop something, break something, lose our passwords, spill coffee on our computer, like whatever it takes for us to not do this thing that scares us so much. And so really, as you grow and scale, you have to shift out of that mind. Like, and it's not shift out of mindset, but it's make sure that you add in that component to make sure that your body's ready, willing, and able to come along for the journey. And it's really like, you have to stretch your nervous system's ability to hold emotions. That's a ton of the work that I do with my clients, is because like you could get there in your mind. Your mind will get to the good stuff way before your nervous system.
Yeah, that is so very true. I don't know if you've watched Umbrella Academy on Netflix, but I binged the new episode recently. But basically, there are these superpower kids, and their awful father places them in positions that causes their subconscious to want to run away, to want to self-sabotage. And he's trying to push them past that in order to get them comfortable or acclimated in such spaces that they will be able to use their superpower to the best of their ability. And that's what I kept thinking about as you were saying, push past, right? Sitting in first class and your body is just totally freaking out as people walk by and look at you in a different manner. But placing yourself in those positions that are going to cause you to level up, and your subconscious is trying to fight you to keep you back in your normal, right? And you're like, no, this can be a safe place too. I survived this. And first class felt good. And I love the drinks and the food. And getting off the plane first, So yeah, that is a perfect analogy. And reality that we don't realize because you don't realize your subconscious is taking over. And you just start to do the things that cause you to stay in here and not move forward.
And that's generally where you'll see patterns show up. So like,
Mhm.
so sometimes clients will have like patterns of big losses. Like they'll get to certain pinnacles of success and then lose it all, and then get to a certain pinnacle of success, lose it all. Like generally you'll see patterns happening at the edges of where your body can tolerate.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to be aware of that and to be gentle with yourself as you go and you grow. But that's the place where, you know, um, more books about mindset, more books about like it's really an embodiment practice that's really necessary to get you past. But mindset, but listen, I want to say mindset work is really, really important in the beginning part of a journey. In the beginning part of a journey, you have to look at your belief structures, your judgments, everything that you think is right and wrong, and really rewire that so that way your brain is able to imagine, your brain is able to desire, your brain is able to formulate these plans, but then the body's got to get on board with doing the actions. And is like, so like I'll tell you, like for myself, so I'm working on a book and I'm really hoping this book's going to be a New York Times bestseller. And so the marketing for a New York Times bestseller is probably going to be 150 podcasts and as many TV interviews as I can possibly get. Well, that means I'm going to have to be seen by hopefully a million people. That is still to me a little terrifying.
Yeah.
That is a little terrifying. And so like we think about the New York Times bestseller list, and we're like, oh, it's such a sexy goal. And then we look at what we actually would have to do to get there. And we're like,
Yeah.
oh girl, oh no, that is so scary. What if somebody comes and kidnap your kids? What if they tell you your hair's wrong? What if they call you fat on TV? Like,
Right.
and it's like
All of the horrible things flood
that, and
flood your
like
mind.
if I'm going to be loved and accepted and praised for my work, people are going to scrutinize it. People are going to scrutinize me. I'm going to be looked at. I'm going to be exposed, called out. Some people are going to hate my ideas. They're going to think they're stupid. They're going to think I'm full of nonsense. And like both of those things are like going to be on the dish that I'm going to have to eat if I'm going to really do that. And so that's really like where that next level comes in, is that embodiment piece, that stretching of your nervous system's capacity to be able to experience life. Most of us have a very small comfort zone because we actually really very like our ability to manage our feelings is actually very small. Our emotional range is very small. And so we have to stretch that emotional range for literal sensations in our body we're willing to tolerate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
All right.
goodness.
And I know that I'm probably over on time, but the last one is really like the embodiment of whatever your next level is. And this for me was the most abstract concept. Like I'd be like, what do you mean embody? What do you mean to embody this? Like, because I was so in the mindset for such a long time that I was like, embody. I'm a
Mhm.
queen in my mind. What do you mean? But it's like putting on the different personas and having them in your body. But it's so when we're growing and expanding and we're figuring out who we need to be our next level self, embodiment of next level leadership, or whatever, coaching, or whatever the thing we do is next level, I don't know, baker, whatever the thing you do is that's it fits right in to being able to do the body work. So like the last point we talked about, it's, you know, there's a shift that happens again out of acting from just your mind and not
Mhm.
being the thing, not like,
Mhm.
and then really being the thing. Because when we're
Yeah.
incongruent, it makes it very difficult to sell. So like, um, so if this is, listen, and I want to say this because I think it's important. I don't have a perfect relationship with money. I'm not a bazillionaire. And that doesn't impede my ability to help you, right? Like I had a doctor for a long time who was a fat old man. And he helped me to be more healthy and helped me to do whatever else he did. I didn't need him to be perfect for him to help me be better. Right. And so I want to
Mm-hmm.
say that's an important thing, because that's a big hang up that we get as we
Mm-hmm.
grow. We're like, oh, I'm not perfect. My business isn't perfect. How can I help people with their businesses? It's like, listen, you don't need somebody else to be perfect for them to help you be better. That's
Right.
nonsense. But as we want to grow and expand, we have to embody that thing that looks to be to not just looks to be successful, but we have to embody that next level of success. So it's like, recently I threw away all of my like college hoodies, my t-shirts from 2007, and I bought myself, a lot of new clothes. Why? Because here I am showing up as this abundance coach, helping people scale to 7 figures. And in my mind, and not that you can't do it in a t-shirt, and I do wear t-shirts, and I'm not always super put together. But in my mind, I want to show up looking like somebody who's abundant and successful as I am. Like, I want to be as successful as I am. I want to appear as successful as I am. I want to speak as successful as I am. And so that's really like that embodiment piece. And the way that I kind of play with this is like, it's almost like acting. Like that's how I started doing it, is like, let me like really close my eyes and feel into that like queen energy. Because your queen energy, she holds the standard. So that kind of takes us back to point 2. So like, you'll see that if you're like, let me be the queen for a minute. What does the queen think about your lead gen strategy? And she's like, nope, this could be better. This could be better. This could be better. And when you're in your queen, you're going to very clearly see that, because the queen holds the standards for your life, right? That royalty, that sovereign holds the standards. And so like, okay, cool. And then like, sometimes I have this inner badass, and like, I take her out when I got a ton of shit to do. Like when I really have a lot of work to do. Her name's Scarlett. Actually, I feel like I'm dressed like Scarlett today.
I
She wears
love it.
lipstick and high heels, and she's the snappy one who gets it done. And then sometimes I have this really open, like beautiful, soft, feminine energy, and she's very attractive. Scarlett gets a lot of work done. She's not very attractive. She's a little scary, to be honest. Like she really is. Like you don't want to tell her no. You don't want to get in her way. She's on a mission. But like when I'm in that soft, feminine, attractive mode, like that's when I do my videos. That's when I write my emails. When I'm like, what
Mm-hmm.
secret sauce are we going to share with the world today? Scarlett is not concerned about the secret sauce. She
Right.
is,
Bottom line, let's get it done.
yeah, she's getting the work done. And so knowing and embodying these different parts of you, and you kind of have to play with it. Like, you don't want to get too serious about this. Don't get nuts about it, but you want to play with these different personas for yourself. So that way you have the ability to know what embodiment is. Because embodiment is not a mental game. It's like if I was to explain to you an orgasm, if I was to be like, well, it's a sexual function where the genitalia does this and this, and you're like,
That doesn't
okay,
sound too
cool.
amazing.
Yeah, but then you embody that, and it's like the mental definition is like, "Meh, meh, 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 meh." The experience is like, oh, that's nice, right? But so learning to practice that is really something that you have to learn how to embody in your body. It's not a mental practice. And I don't know if other people maybe struggled with this, but for such a long time, I was trying to grasp this in my mind. I was like, what is embodiment? And I was trying, and it was like I was using the wrong language to try to
Mm-hmm.
understand this. Like I was in my mind, and it was like when you're in your masculine and you're just in your brain, and you don't have any of your energy in your body, and everything's like all up top, and you're like, but why isn't it working? And you're like,
It's
because
not cooking. Yeah.
you're missing the point, lady. And
Yeah.
so that was like a trick that I had, was like, let me just be the queen for a minute and kind of feel into, and just like pretending to be a queen, like literally like playing house like we did when we were kids. Like kids embody when they play house. Like you would act different if you were the mom or the baby, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
embodiment. And so
Mm-hmm.
like that was like a whole big thing that I had to really learn, like that it's not like fake it till you make it, but it's kind of like being the thing that you want to be.
Yeah. I call it exploration, right? So like as kids, we're exploring when we're playing house and we're, doing all the things, that's your exploration phase. And you, without judgment, allow yourself to freely do what your mind takes you on a journey to do, right? So you can play house, and it lends you to a lot of realizations that empower you to be who you're going to be as an adult. And a lot of times those are interrupted, you're now 5 years old. You should be doing da 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 da. Stop playing with, and then when you circle back to that as an adult, you embody the judgment and not allow yourself to go on that journey again. And I always think of like Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, when she goes on stage, right? She has to become, and then she's also Queen Bee, but then she's also Beyonce. And now she also has Beyonce. So she has
Who's
these
that? I don't know that one.
Beyonce is my favorite. Beyonce is like, she's the one that has the grill fangs, the diamond encrusted fangs, the short blunt bob, and she's still sexy and she's still powerful, but she can blend in any environment. And she's the one that's like ruling sexy. She's like the really, really, really sexy one.
Oh, all right. Okay. I'm into it. All right. Yes. I love Beyonce. Love her. She's one of my
Yes.
favorites.
Love, love, love. And so, yeah, I love her Beyonce personification. But I love how she bounces back and forth to allow herself to let her body, right, be in those positions and be in those places and survive that. Because just regular Beyonce, the girl from Texas, that's kind of like, I'm gonna sit back here, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you really think of the level of sensation that your nervous system would have to handle to be on stage, lights blinding you in front of a massive, massive crowd of people screaming at you. I mean, it sounds very exciting, but I mean, that has
At the
got to
same
be
time, it's very scary.
terrifying. And so if you have this whole persona, Sasha, who can go out there and rock it and do the things and do the dance
And
moves
she's
and beat it.
intouchable. Yeah.
Yeah. And you tell Sasha her hair's terrible, or she's too fat, or she's off key, or whatever, and she's like, I'm amazing. I don't know. But you might say that to regular Beyonce, who's just a regular human, and she'd be like, was I off key? And Sasha Fierce is like, your ears are off key.
Yeah, you're wrong.
It's you. Yeah. It's your problem. Bye.
That part. Exactly. Oh my goodness, this has been so amazing. Like, so absolutely amazing, because this is definitely, I feel like anybody at any level of entrepreneurship, or even just thinking about entrepreneurship, can relate to these things, because it's life at the same time. They just roll over and affect your money when you apply to business. And so I guess my last and final question is, because I know you work with people who are at six figures, how do they prepare to be the person to work with you? Because I know everybody's going to be like, oh my God, I need her in my life. But they're not at that point. So what are some suggestions that you may have to get them prepared to be your perfect client?
So honestly, they want to sharpen those skills to get them to six figures. At six figures, listen, from getting to 6 figures, you do have to do some mindset work, but really the skills that you really want to get are going to be your lead gen. They're going to be your sales skills. They're going to be your deliverables. They're going to be tightening that stuff up, because then once you have those skills, then it's really just getting you off to the moon. But there's no amount of mindset work, there's no amount of embodiment work that is going to help you to make money if you can't sell. You have to be able to sell. You have to have those lead gen strategies in. So like a lot of times in the coaching world, we talk about mindset, we talk about these hangups, we talk about our past trauma. And it's like, lady, you don't have sales skills. You need to literally learn how to sell this thing. Your offers are weak. They don't sell results. Your offer doesn't convey enough value to justify your price. That's why it's not selling. So it's certain, like, until 6 figures, you really want to be focused so much on those technical business skills, like being able to write your emails, learning how to tag and segment your email list, learning how to sell, making sure your deliverables are there, tightening that sort of stuff up. Because then once you have those business skills, like those hard business skills, not the soft skills, then the soft skills come in and they can take you to the moon. But working on soft skills before you have the hard skills, you can if you're in your own way. and it's always a balance. There's always a balance of like, what do I need to work on to be able to do this? And so like, for example, like I had to get over guilt around charging for stuff to be able to charge for stuff. And so that was a soft skill that I needed to be able to implement sales skills I already had. My sales skills weren't coming, my sales skills were being like deadened in the like blasted by the fact that I was delivering my sales full of guilt.
Yeah.
And so like it's a dance. But a lot of times people want to really like think that they're going to journal their way to $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And super unfortunate, again, very annoying if you ask me, but that's not the case. Like, and so it's those like business skills will get you to six figures. And really, like, you don't need to be enlightened to get to six figures. Like, you don't need to be doing the deepest of work. You just need to be taking the actions. You want to really scale. There's a certain level of personal, spiritual, emotional growth that needs to happen. And that's where people can come see me. But it's like, before then, it's really about like the hard skills, and then the soft skills to make sure that you have the ability to pull off it's like a dance. I'm this is a podcast, so, but it's like I have my hands up and I'm just making dancing nonverbals here. So that's really the thing. And I mean, I honestly love to work with clients who come to the table with some self-awareness, because when you're already looking at yourself, that mirror that I could provide is super, super helpful. But if you're not willing to look at yourself, then having a mirror is honestly, like, it's not helpful. Like, if you're not willing to do the things. But when you're in the space of getting to your first six figures, it's lead gen and sales and deliverables. Like, it's really, it's sales. Like, you need to learn how to sell. And that is a skill that you need to be, like, not just a little bit good at. Like, you need to be really good at it. No matter how you sell or what you sell. Like, but you have to believe in whatever it is you do so hard that, like, you wouldn't say this out loud. You would think it nicely to yourself quietly. But when somebody is like, no, I don't want your thing, like, you need to be able to mentally be like, they're an idiot. And it's not that they're actually an idiot, but you need to have that belief so strong that you're like, that's on them. It's not on my offer. It's not on my pricing. It's not on my structure. It's not on my deliverables. It wasn't on my sales presentation. It wasn't on my lead gen strategy. I've done everything right. If it's not for them, it's not for them. Bless and release. But if you're wishy-washy and you're like, well, was my lead gen not right? Was my sales not good enough? Was my deliverables not there? Was my price wrong? You're gonna have a tough time. So you need to get to that place where, like, those technical skills are so that when somebody is like, hey, not right for me, you're like, okay, cool. Like, I am taking 0 from that. And at first, and the thing about that is, at first, you're not going to have that, because at first you're going to need that feedback. You're going to need that feedback at first. You know, like, at first, if you're getting price objection after price objection after price objection, something, you got to look at your offer, you got to look at your sales, you got to look at your deliverables, you got to look at what you're selling. If the results aren't there, if you're getting price objection after price, you know, like, at first you need the feedback, but then you get to a place where you're like, okay, cool. Everything's dialed in. If it's not right for you, okay, I'm not changing anything about what I've got because it works.
Exactly. You know, that it takes some practice to get to that point. But yeah. Once you get there and you truly believe in your stuff, then you're good to go. You're really good to go. So I know you have a timeline to get on. I do have a few questions that I would like to ask you.
Please.
Let's see here. I should have had these already pulled up, but I was so engulfed in today's conversation because it's so good. Okay. And so the first question that I ask everybody is, what is something that you've had to accept about your past, present, or future to equip you to reach the level of success that you would like in your business?
I had to accept that I am a predator. And I don't mean that in like a ferocious kind of way, but like, the thing is I'm going to get what I want no matter what. And that like really puts it like, and I'm like the way that I do stuff is like, for a long time I was a stockbroker and I was selling, but from this place of like, no, I don't want too much. I was like a skinny, starving lion. And it's like, that's not healthy. Like I am a lion. And I know my business is sheep to shark, but like if I had an animal, I'd be a lion. And I'm sure as shit not gonna be like a skinny, starving lion where you could see its ribs. Like that's what I am. And so I had to like really accept that about myself because I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be that person who was a salesperson. I didn't want to be that person who was like, and I'm not ruthless in any kind, like but like I'm 100% getting what I want. And if you're not helping me, like it's cool, get out of the way. Like I'm 100% doing what I want. And I had to accept that about myself because I was watering myself down and being so wishy-washy before I'd embrace the fact that like I'm powerful and I'm going to do big things and I'm doing it the way that I want to do it. And I'm not abiding by these social contracts and I'm not playing myself small and I'm not dimming for anybody else's comfort. And that before I'd accepted that about myself, I was a skinny lion, sorry about making sales. I was a skinny lion, sorry about charging what I charge, that. And I'm like, I'm over that. If it's not right for your budget, that's fine. If it's not right, like I don't owe you affordability. Like, and I'm so at this point, I'm super comfortable to say that at this point where like, when I first started, like, oh, I'm so sorry that I have to eat food and feed my children and pay my mortgage. I wish I could do it I wish I could just do this for free, but like, I don't, I don't wish that. I like what I like. I like having nice things. I like making a lot of money. I like paying my team well. I like travel. I like luxury, and I'm not sorry about it.
Yeah, all of those words. Yes, 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 and yes. And yeah. All of that. Okay, because I was about to go on a tangent. I was like, nope, focus, Jateya. So, okay, next question. As cliche as it sounds, what's one thing you have to believe to achieve?
That you're worth it, that you're good enough. I mean, it's as
Mhm.
simple as that. It's that you're worth it. It's that you're good enough, that you have something to give.
I love, 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 love. How has embracing all parts of you contributed to your success or equipped you to do what you do? And I ask this question because a lot of times, especially with my multi-passionates, we we've been trying so hard for so long to fit in that we put a piece of us over there and we're like, no, we're just gonna, and we need to embrace all of us. So like for me, I had to embrace, I love doing events. I love throwing parties. And so I try to make everything in my business borderline a party because if it's fun, then I'm going to enjoy everything about it, right? And so that's like the premise of that question. So like embracing all aspects of you to reach that level of success.
Can you say the initial question again?
Yeah. So, how has embracing all aspects of you contributed to your success or equipped you to do what you do?
It's about power. Every aspect of yourself that's not accepted is a drain in your personal power. It's a drain in your money. It's a drain in your success. So every single bit of you that you love and accept exactly as it is, like, and these are broken little nasty bits. Like you have to like really love and accept like the slutty part of you, the part of you who's pathetic, the part of you who needs help, the part of you who can't figure it out. Like these things that are just so hard. But like once you have all of those in your conscious mind, fully loved and accepted, you are a powerhouse. And before that, you're somebody who's going to be wishy-washy and not. So every, like, it's funny, like I feel like the work of life is learning to love and accept yourself. I don't think it's a place that you're going to get to, and I certainly don't think it's a place that you're going to get to in a year or in a first stage of business or anything. I think it's a lifetime of work because you're always going to be growing and evolving, and you're always going to have to be looking at yourself and loving and accepting everything. But it's about power. It's about your ability to hold power and not get grossed out by these parts of you that aren't socially acceptable. So
Yeah.
the more I love and accept myself, the more powerful I am. The
I love,
more good stuff I can hold and have.
Yeah. And the more you have, the more you can do for all of my givers out there who are, starving to try to give somebody something that you don't have. The more you have, the more you can give. And so those of you who have, this concept around being wealthy and only bad people or gross people or savage people, that is so not true. Like money makes the world go round. It is a thing and an aspect of life, and the more you have, the more you can give. And so that power word is very, very important, and embracing all aspects of yourself. Love it. Okay, so before we tell the good people where they can find you, are there any people, you've already mentioned one of your mentors, that you would like to shout out that's helped you along your journey?
I think this plays on to the last question. I've had a lot of mentors, but I think for your people in the loving and accepting yourself journey, there's a book by Dr. Carolyn Elliott called Existential Kink. And it is, for me, she's a little witchy. So if that doesn't fit for you, you might not like it. I'll just drop that there. But she's also very funny. And she talks about that shadow work, the loving and accepting of the patterns that we don't like, the loving and accepting of the sensations that we don't like. And that book for me was the biggest game changer because I like, I'm a money coach. My relationship with scarcity is a little extra because I have my own life, I have my own money junk, I have my own business finances, personal finances, and then I'm in the depths of all of my clients' scarcity with them. So my relationship with scarcity is just a little intense. It's just a little much, right? Because that's the nature of what I do. And for the longest time, I thought I hated scarcity. I thought I thought it was the worst. I thought I was doing something wrong. But every time scarcity shows up in my life, that ugly vibe, in my mind, it looks like, those two little eels from the Little Mermaid. That's what scarcity looks like
Yeah.
to me. It flops them and jets them. Scarcity shows up and it's like this, shows up and it swims around me. And every single time that ugly little eel of a vibe shows up, it brings me a gift. Every single time it shows up and it brings me something good and it brings me something I wouldn't have found. And so, like, come to find out, my relationship with scarcity is actually kind of beautiful, and it's a huge part of what makes me successful. And I had been rejecting it and not loving it and not seeing it and thinking it was wrong and bad. But like, really, it's why I'm good at what I do. It's why I'm good at what I do. And then, so like, Dr. Carolyn Elliott's book helped me to really see the just hilariousness of being a human. And
Mm.
because it's like so funny. It's like sometimes we on a subconscious level want things that we don't want on our conscious level. So it's like, you ever have a girlfriend who has the same flavor of crappy boyfriend over and over and over again? You're like, dude, Joe is the
Same
same
person,
flavor,
different body.
is the same flavor of player that Mike was, who was the same flavor of deceptive jerk face that like and you're like, so maybe you actually just love this.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a game that you're playing with yourself. And so if you, when you see these things as wrong and bad, it's so painful to be a human. But when you're like, actually, maybe I just like, on a kinky subconscious level, maybe there's just some part of me who actually really loves being disrespected, because there's sensations that come with that. And when we look at, when we do that body work piece, and that's why we have to get out of the mindset piece, maybe the sensation of like being disrespected actually is a familiar place for you. It's actually a thing that you like. So for me, scarcity was like scarcity for me is a familiar place. And for the longest time I thought I hated it, but the truth is I don't. It's very exciting. It's and my ability to tolerate it is what makes me good at my job. And so like, seeing that was one of the big things around that. And so like, that work helped me to see that like, I'm a predator. I read the Wolf of Wall Street's book, and
Mhm.
because I was like, if I can't love this dude, there's no way I'm gonna be able to love my sales enough. Like, if I can't love
Mhm.
this ruthless, kind of skeezy, not kind of, like, super scumbag dude for his sales abilities. I mean, like, he misused his power. But then he turned it around and he did great work, right? Like he's doing sales coaching and helping people change the world and helping people make money. But at first he did it wrong, which is like part of his process. It's part of the journey. But if that's the thing about all of our gifts, it's like insight, for example, I'm super insightful. That's the gift I give to my clients. My insight is sharp. It is incredibly sharp and I'm surgical with it. And so when I'm kind, I'm a surgeon to your psyche and to your emotions. But 100%, I can be cruel with that gift. 100%, I can be unkind with it. And when you don't have that cruel part of you loved and embraced, she comes out
when you don't want her.
No. And so I had to like look and see like that insight, like is a tool that I have. It's a gift. And I had to love the part of me who's cruel. So that way I have some control over when I.
Yeah.
So that way I have some control. And so that way I wouldn't just like be at a party, see something that's the truth, drop it sharply and hurt somebody's feelings. Right? Like, because you don't want to, that's not who I want to be. That I want people to feel loved and appreciated in my presence. I don't want them to feel nervous or like I'm an unsafe person, but I had to love the part of me that was cruel to get there. And so Dr. Carolyn Elliott's book called Existential Kink really helped me do that. Really helped me see those things. So that was my mentor.
Thank you. Definitely adding that one to the Audible. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And so let the people know how they can find you, so they can keep up to date and whenever they're ready, actually come and join your tribe.
Beautiful. I'm Sheep to Shark on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And there's a ton of videos. There's a ton of content that's available for free on like YouTube, Facebook. And we have some stuff on Instagram too, but not as much content on Instagram. So you could find me any of those places and I would be happy to have you.
Well, thank you. All of that will be in the show notes. And I thank you for your time and your talents. This has been so good. I mean, I really could talk to you longer, but I know you have things to do. So thank you again.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and took notes. If not, go back and listen again after you grab some pen and paper. Brie provided a wealth of information. And if you're looking to find her and play with her, her favorite platform is Facebook. The link to find her is in the show notes. So go check her out, go join her group, and show her some love. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Confident and Courageous Clarity Podcast. I hope you'll come back next week and join us for some more. And I'll see you back here, same time, same place next week.